Okay, the first thing you do with the ribs is to get the back skin off of them. And you just take a fork, kind of, see it just kind of scrape down a couple of the bones. And then you just pull your fingers under it and from one end, pull it off the other end. That's it. Throw it out. Perfect. The other one. Sometimes you'll find a rib that doesn't. It's already been removed for whatever reason. That's not a big deal. Okay, they're all ready. Now I'm just going to season. I use Lowry seasoned salt, garlic powder, black pepper. I have a little bit of brown sugar, a couple tablespoons, and then I'll put some good paprika on there. And sometimes I have my own Cajun seasoning. Put that on there sometimes, not a lot. And I make it myself, doesn't have much salt. If you buy one, they usually have a lot of salt in them, so don't use too much. But I feel like it's a little spicier, or you can put more pepper on it. For the seasoning, Lowry's generously, but don't cover it. But you can see I'm putting a fair amount on both sides. I'm gonna do both sides, but I like to do one side. Then I don't get that all of my hands. And so garlic powder, same thing. Nice generous coating of garlic. Pepper, depending on how much you like. You can use fresh ground, it doesn't matter. Okay, and like I said, I got my Cajun seasoning. I don't put too much, just a little bit for flavor. Okay, paprika. That I like to put a fair amount on. Chocolate's up nice. Okay, then the brown sugar, and you kind of have to pat that in, work it around a little bit. You want to save about half for the other side. Okay. And you can see it's seasoned, but not over. Okay, and then the same thing on this side. Lowry's, and you can use salt if you don't have Lowry's. I'd use a little less salt than Lowry's though. Garlic powder. And you want to kind of get the edges too while you're doing it. Pepper. Paprika. A little bit of Cajun. And then the rest of the brown sugar. You can use as much brown sugar as you want. Put on more if you like it a little sweeter. It's not going to make a huge difference. Okay. There, beautiful. Now I just put a little bit of olive oil on there. Just put that in there. Same on the other side. And these are ready to get charbroiled. And you can let them sit there and they'll soak some of that seasoning. I wouldn't let them sit more than an hour like that though. But it doesn't matter. You can season them, cook them later. You know, if you refrigerate them, it's fine. But I just do everything at once. So. Ribs are ready to be get some char on them before they go in the oven for slow bake. That way you get a nice barbecue smoky flavor to them. So got a nice hot grill. And I'm just going to put them on for just to get a little bit of brown on both sides, a little crispy. Not too dark, but you get a little crispy on there. You know, it caramelizes the sugars and everything on there. You can see it's already got a nice color. Nice hot grill. It's also 90 degrees out here. So probably, I would say, good 2-3 minutes on each side. And since the grills don't cook 100% of it, I always like to move them around so that we get a nice grill mark all over. You can see down here the fat's already starting to get crispy on there. That's about all you want to do. So I don't want any flames on there. And that's a good color there. Doesn't have to cover the whole thing. You can hear the crackle. I'm just cooking on that vertical now a little bit. Hot grill. When you cook them later again on the grill, you don't get them that hot. And there's what you're looking for right there. Just that starting to burn kind of crispiness. Turn them over. And then you're not going to get as good crispiness on the back side, so you don't have to cook them as much on the back side. Just, like I said, enough to just get the little brown on there. And we'll cook them vertical and then horizontal a little bit. Okay. I don't get too close with the camera. And a little bit more on that one. Same with that one. Just a little bit more. I don't want to leave them on too long. If the grill's not going to be as hot as it was when I first turned them on, you really don't want it to cook per se at this time. Alright, well, I'm going to take them off. I'll bring them inside and then they're going to go in the oven. Ribs are ready to go in the oven. I got the oven on at 350 and I put them in a roasting pan. There's about a ½ inch of water in there, I would say. Not too much. You don't want to be on the bottom of the ribs, but you want to have enough so it doesn't steam away while you're cooking. If you don't have a setup like this, you can use a sheet pan with a rack. When I cooked a lot at once, I've made my own racks just out of tin foil. So now I'm going to cover it. I've got a big piece of foil, and you want to cover it all the way because it's going to kind of like steam the ribs. So I'll just have to pan over here. And I'll just cover them up. You can cook more than 2 slabs. Like I said, I've cooked in one of these roasting pans, I've cooked 4 or 5 at a time. I wouldn't go more than 5 for sure. I don't know how big they are. These ribs aren't very small, or very big, but they're not small, but they're not huge. See those real big ones. Okay, now it just goes in the oven for 2 hours. Now I don't use the convection. I don't know if that matters, but 2 hours, 350, and I'll check them, make sure they should be done. They kind of are starting to fall away from the bone. You can tell. I'll show you what that looks like, and then if they're not, they can go back in another hour if you want. So you really can't overcook them too much at that point. What'll happen is they'll just steam more and they'll fall right off the bone, and then it'll be harder to grill them later. So you don't want to do them all the way. The ribs out of the oven, and as you can see, they're very tender. That just kind of falls. The bones almost kind of just tear right out of it. You can see that. Same over here. Kind of falls off the bone. I can stick a fork right through it with no problem. So that's basically what you're looking for after a couple hours. Always make a little glaze for my ribs too. It gives them a little more tang with the sweetness of the sauce. And let's take a little saucepan, and then I have about, I don't know, 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter. It depends on how many ribs I make. I only have 2 slabs this time. And then I'll put in about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. And maybe a dash or 2 of Worcestershire sauce. Not too much. Maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Some black pepper, coarse black pepper. Probably about a 1/4 teaspoon. And then I use my barbecue sauce. Depends on what kind you like. Some barbecue sauce are already more tangy than other ones, so if you got a real tangy one, use a little less vinegar. This one's fairly sweet, so I'll probably put about a half a cup in. It's not too much. And then I'll add a little bit of water. A couple tablespoons. And then I just bring it to a boil. And I'll stir it as it cooks. You don't have to do this. You can just do it just to have the sauce. I think with the butter, it adds a little more richness. A little, you could even put a little wine in there. A little red wine, white wine, doesn't matter. It'll give it a lot of good flavor. And it's starting to boil. At this point, you can taste it too. If you think it needs anything, go ahead and add it. I think that's pretty good. You can also, if you want, you can thin it out. I use a couple tablespoons of water. You can use chicken stock. That'll give it some more flavor too. Beef stock's fine. Just want to bring it to a boil and then it's pretty much done. Yeah, that's good. I'll turn it on. Okay, now I'm going to brush this on the ribs, both sides. And I put it on fairly thick because it kind of soaks in and works best when the ribs are still warm out of the oven, but as long as they're not cold, it's fine. Okay, so now I just turn them over and do the other side. Now these ribs kind of fell apart, but when I serve them, I cut them into 3-4 bone pieces, so they fell apart before I finished them. It's fine. I'll just sauce the back of them. Make sure I get the edges. And those ribs are now ready to cook on the grill for final heat and serve. As you can see, they're fully cooked already. And when they go back, what I'll do is I'll put them on the grill, and then I'll cook them a little on the grill with no sauce, and then I'll sauce them and then cook them a little slower to caramelize the sauce. And at this point, they're still a little warm, so I'm just going to let them sit. And you know, you don't have to cook them immediately. They can sit like this for a little while, be fine. Okay, so we're gonna cook the ribs for the final cook, and I have the grill on. I only have 2 burners on, and they're on lowest setting. It's still coming down in heat. I had turned it up just to heat the grill up, and then so I would say you're going to cook these around 350, because you're going to have the top open most of the time. So as when the top, you don't have, it's not going to be as hot on the grill. Okay, so I'm going to take the ribs, and as you can see, they fell apart in the oven as I took them out, which is fine. It's just easier to work on the grill. I do have 2 sets of tongs in case I have to. But I'm going to put them in. I'm going to put them the back, the meaty side down, the back side up. Like I said, I'm going to cut them up before I serve them. So if it breaks like that, that's fine. Plus, I know that they're cooked. They're tender, cooked and tender when they fall off the bone, like when it breaks like that. So I'm putting them all on here for, I don't know. I would say maybe no more than a couple minutes, depending on how hot your grill is and how it works. At this point, I can close it to keep the heat, some of the heat in, since I do have it on low. And as you can see, the temperature already went down on the grill to 375. So I'm going to cook them for about a minute on there, and then a minute and a half with the cover down, keeping an eye on the heat. If I see the heat go up too high, or I hear too much crackling going on, then I'll stop and check it. Check the ribs, and it's cooking nice and slow, but you can see the sizzle on there. Hear it, So this is what we're doing. We're just reheating them basically. So you have to be real careful. So at this point, except for these 2 here are probably going to cook faster than over here. So I can turn the grill up here a little bit, and then I'm going to give it another minute. Okay, I'm going to check those. Looks good. They smell good. Let's take a look at this one first. And as you can see, the sizzle on there, the bone coming out of that. That's all right. like I said, they're already cooked, so all we're doing is reheating them at this point. And this one's a little tricky. Sorry. And that's what where that glaze comes in. You get there was butter in there, the sugars from the barbecue sauce, and that. So that's kind of they're gonna be cooked almost ready to be eaten, just without any sauce on them. So I do have a bowl of sauce ready to go, and once I turn the ribs, I will be saucing them one side at a time and cooking them off the heat, just to kind of bake them. So we'll let these go a little longer on this side and keep an eye on them. Some camera trouble here. Alright, we'll check and see where we're at. Should be done. Grill's staying around 300. Don't get too caught up in the grill temperature. I cook ribs all year long. I cooked them on New Year's Day in a snowstorm this year. And the grill temperature is not something you need to really watch unless you have optimum conditions. Today it's high 80s and it's easier to keep the grill hot. Okay, but these are ready to get the first batch of sauce. Now I really turned the burner, I just turned the burners down. Bottoms off the direct heat. Move it over a little bit more. So now the sauce on there can cook a little caramelized. You can close your grill, give it about 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If you want, you can keep the grill open or watch it. It's all, if you want to cook it longer, not like I said, they're ready to eat now, but the longer and slower you cook them with the sauce, the more caramelized and sweeter they're going to get. Okay, let's check those. About 3 minutes or so. And as you can see, there's a nice glaze on there. They haven't got too, caramelized, but they will get more and more as they sit on there. Okay, so now we're going to turn them over delicately. Oh, that one's tricky. There we go. And we're going to sauce this side now. Very thick as you can get it on there. Now this is, since you have barbecue sauce on the bottom, you really have to be careful of any of the ones that are near the burners that are on. You have to keep an eye on those because those could burn fast. but it's mostly off the heat at this point. So. And that's a nice glaze on there. As a matter of fact, we're going to turn this burner off. Just let that sit on there. I would say 5 minutes. The grill's still around 3. You know, it's no hotter than 350. Oh, you know, that's the highest you want to go. You don't want to go below 250 either, 275. So it looks good for now, about 5 minutes. So, grill's still good. Looks beautiful. Now at this point, if you wanted to bring them in and eat them, they'd be nice. Check the bottom of it. Let's check the bottom of this one there. As you can see, it's caramelized even more. So we can turn them, and now you don't have to do this if you want them a little. Another thing you do is I have a little shelf if you have that. Put them up there, all the way in the corner furthest from the heat. Put a lot of sauce, and then just leave them on there for, I don't know, half hour, and they will get nice and crispy if you like them like that too. But at this point, I'm going to put a little bit more sauce on them. Alrighty, so I'll just let that cook another 2-3 minutes like that, and then probably turn them and put a little more sauce on, and then eat them, and that's it. Alrighty, and a couple minutes went by. It looked nice and caramel. That is it. That's Mike's ribs. Turn off the broiler or the knobs, and just put them on a platter. Nothing left to do but eat them. Enjoy.